The magicians, the angel of death, the sleeper awakes. The policeman stood aghast. Was this the man the police thought was the brutal serial killer, the necromancer? The man looked as dangerous as a kitten. "How is your coffee, Mr. Tyler?" asked Lance Alexander, Sr. of a patient he'd just brought coffee from the cafeteria downstairs at the hospital for. "It's great. Do you want to be paid back for the coffee?" asked John Tyler. "No, it's all part of the service," said Lance. "And it was my pleasure to help." Lance wandered off to visit Dr. Blake Alexander, his father, in the morgue. "What game were you playing at?" "You aren't as nice as you are acting, boy," said the father to his son, the necromancer. "Why do I have to be playing games?" "Maybe I have reformed," said Lance. "And I'm not a dead man walking," Blake said skeptically. He was secretly a grim reaper, as was Lance. "Necromancer, are you here to visit your victims?" asked Dante, the coroner's assistant, to Blake, who also doubled as the assistant to Mortimer, aka Blake, the king of the Grim Reapers. "No, I'm here to help," said Lance. "I thought you were Fate's avenging angel. Why are you hanging around in a hospital where people are saved?" asked Dante. "Haven't you noticed? My police nanny? Fate hasn't sent me here." "I came of my own accord," said Lance. "Yes," said Dante, not happy Lance was suspected of being the necromancer. Any suspicions laid on Lance's shoulders would lead to suspicion of Blake and himself, as not being all they seemed to be. Being caught would cause chaos for everyone. They knew. Dr. Death, said Blake's least favourite co-worker at the hospital. "What do you want, Jack?" moaned Blake, whom the orderly, Jack Taylor, called Dr. Death because he was the doctor of the dead, a coroner. "Mortimer, father of the necromancer," muttered the man, who came in with Jack thoughtlessly. Blake, aka Mortimer, glared at Jack, who was oblivious to what he had done. "This man wants to talk to you," said Jack offhandedly. "What do you want to talk to me about?" asked Blake. The man was Lance's police nanny. "Hey," said Lance, who went for a coffee in Blake's office when he saw Jack coming with the policeman. He came back to see the policeman looking nervously at his father. Lance heard everything. "Hi, Charlie. I've got you a coffee. It must be thirsty work, watching little old me," Lance said brazenly, handing the coffee to the policeman. "Thank you," said the policeman, now more than just nervous. He was confused as well. He was unsure whether to drink the coffee or not because it was handed to him by a man he suspected of being a killer. Lance rolled his blue eyes in his handsome head. He took back the coffee and sipped it. "I didn't poison it," Lance said and laughed. "Or did I?" "Lancelot, be serious," snapped Blake. Lance's memory had replayed as much of his day as a dream when he fell into a deeper sleep. Lance Sr. lay in a terrifying state of sleep. He dreamed he was walking around the hospital unseen. He felt the greatest terror in his life. He was walking to a room in the hospital when he recognized the room of the man he was ordered to kill by fate, his master. He awoke in a cold sweat, in a strange state of extreme terror. The next day he visited his mark with his regularly scheduled coffee, only to find an empty bed. He asked his doctor if they had transferred him somewhere else, puzzled. "Oh, don't you know? Mr. Tyler died in his sleep last night," said the doctor sadly. This disturbed Lance greatly. Something seemed terribly wrong. How could he have dreamed of himself visiting the man one night, and the next day find him dead? He wondered if he was having a vision of death, like his son, a doomsayer, had many times. He visited his father and told him about his dream. He was puzzled too. He said it was an odd death, as he could attest as the judge with the dead. The cause of death on the official afterlife obituary he'd seen read, "Killed by death," and the Grim Reaper who brought him in was the Angel of Death. Blake and Lance thought it was scary and odd. The Angel of Death was a myth. They thought they had a rogue Reaper killing people. Lance could only agree to hunt it down and stop it before it struck again. Lance had another dream of a similar type, and yes, the person died in it again. He could not find nor see the angel or anything in his dreams, which continued to come. They had a haunting feel to them and kept returning to his memory. They became more and more real to him. He confided in his friend Sandy, the Sandman, his son's dream guru. "I think you're astral travelling," said Sandy. It horrified Lance to find out he was killing people in his sleep. He was so scared he didn't want to sleep. He stayed awake for 3.5 days before he felt himself drop off to sleep. He visited his father the next day to find more people dead at the hands of death. Tell his father what he knew. All he knew was he had to confess. It took all his courage. "Go?" said Lance. "What?" asked Blake. Sitting in his office in the afterlife, puzzling over the death records relating to the Angel of Death. "I know who the angel is," Lance said nervously. "Spill it out," snapped Blake impatiently. Lance could barely speak. He was so terrified. He tried a few times, but nothing came out. "Well, are you going to tell me or not?" snapped Blake, not understanding why his son couldn't speak. He was terrified and his mouth wasn't working right. "Me," was all he could eventually expel. "What are you doing, necromancer?" demanded his father, more annoyed. "I don't know," Lance said. "What do you mean you don't know?" snapped Blake. "I wasn't doing anything consciously," Lance blurted out. "You mean you are murdering people unconsciously? Do you think I'm mad?" Blake lost it completely. Yes, said Lance timidly. What do you expect from me? You've been lying to me, Blake screamed. I didn't know I was, said Lance. How could you not know what you were doing? Shouted Blake accusingly. I was asleep, said Lance, afraid what Blake was going to do to him. Asleep? Sleepwalking? Asked Blake, calming down. No astral travelling, was what Sandy thought, said Lance. I thought it was horrible nightmares, or visions. Oh, I thought you were messed up, boy. You can't even sleep without killing people. Hissed Blake, disgusted. I tried not to sleep. I made it for over 3 days, and my wife slipped a sleeping tablet in my food, Lance said irritably. You shouldn't stop sleeping. Lack of sleep can kill you, boy, Blake said shortly. Yeah. And me sleeping kills others, said Lance. We'll keep an eye on this angel, but we'll have to live with him for now, said Blake. And for God's sake, you keep sleeping or I'll stick Dante on you. Okay, Lance said awkwardly, not relishing the thought of Dante lecturing him. This was the beginning of the nightmare that was the angel of death.